To see our full range of videos and be notified of new releases, please press the subscribe button. It's free. Following the Normandy breakout, the German army was in full retreat. The British and American armies were hard on the heels. Low on ammunition, fuel, and without maps, the British momentum ran out at Antwerp. The German strongpoints on the French coast had been bypassed. It was the job of the 1st Canadian Army to take these strongpoints. 1st of September 1944, the Canadians returned to Dieppe. Lieutenant General Guy Simon's 2nd Canadian Corps turned towards Dieppe. The Canadians were eager to return to Dieppe following the disastrous Dieppe raid, where they suffered 3,600 casualties killed, wounded or captured. Advancing over 15 miles during the night, the Canadians entered Dieppe to find the German occupiers had wisely melted away. The victorious Canadian First Army marches through Dieppe. Le Havre, Operation Estonia, 10th to 12th of September 1944. The port of Le Havre was essential to sustain the Allied thrust into Germany. Le Havre was heavily shelled from the sea and bombed prior to the land attack. The British 79th Armour Division was supported by the Canadian 49th Infantry, the 51st Highland Division and the 1st Canadian Armoured Carrier Regiment. 5:45 p.m. on the 10th of September, the 56th Brigade advanced through minefields cleared by Flail tanks. After 2 days fighting, the German garrison surrendered. 11,000 prisoners were taken. Operation Well Hit, the Battle of Boulogne, 17th to 22nd of September 1944. The highly fortified port of Boulogne, reinforced and manned by troops committed to fight to the end. Boulogne was shelled from landward and by coastal guns at Dover, firing 2,000-pound shells. The bombardment was followed by bombing by 1,000 Lancasters. The 3rd Canadian Infantry Division and the 2nd Canadian Armoured Brigade, impriest Kangaroo armoured personnel carriers, were supported by tanks from the Fort Garry Horse and Churchill Crocodile flame-throwing tanks from the 97th Armoured Division. A French civilian guided the Canadians to a secret passage leading into the walled old town. At the citadel, tank fire and demolition of the gates persuaded the German defenders to surrender. The fortresses at La Portelle were given an ultimatum calling for a prompt surrender. The northern fort's garrison marched out shortly before its expiration. The southern fort continued firing. When armour, including flamethrowers, was brought forward, the German garrison destroyed their guns and surrendered. Operation Undergo, 25th of September to 1st of October. The fortified port of Calais was liberated by the 3rd Canadian Infantry. A key target was the 16-inch guns at Normandy, which had shelled Dover for 3 years. Early attempts by small groups of Germans to surrender were ended when they were shot by their own side. On the 27th of September, the Canadians withdrew temporarily to allow the bombing of enemy strongpoints by 800 aircraft. In the evening of the 28th of September, a truce was agreed with Lieutenant Colonel Schroeder, the garrison commander, to allow the safe evacuation of 20,000 civilians. The 7th and 8th Canadian Infantry Brigade groups, supported by armour and artillery, launched their attack from the southwest to take the high ground. The battery at Normandy, with its huge 406mm guns, surrendered quickly. The German gunners were found to be drunk. On the 1st of October, the Calais garrison of 7,500 men surrendered. The Breskin Pocket, known to the Germans as Scheldt Fortress South, 6th of October to 3rd of November 1944. Fighting in the Breskin Pocket was a hell on earth. It was worse than hell, because at least hell would be hot. These were the polders, an expanse of low-lying land reclaimed from the sea. It was crisscrossed by countless ditches, channels, canals and rivers. The enemy had flooded the land. The water was too shallow for boats, too deep for vehicles. It was a miserable existence, every day frozen to the bone, soaking wet and covered in mud. The enemy held every piece of high ground, defended every waterway. They were well dug in and had their guns trained along all the built-up roads and canal banks. Canadian troops were dead on their feet, having fought non-stop for 4 months. The Canadian Army was under strength, with replacements under-trained, due to political conflicts back home. Equipment and ammunition were in short supply, most having been diverted to Operation Market Garden, a bridge too far. On the 10th of September 1944, Himmler had delivered the following proclamation to the German troops. Every deserter will be prosecuted and will find his punishment. Furthermore, his ignominious behaviour will entail the most severe consequences for his family. Under examination of the circumstances, they will be shot. The strength of the German army in the Breskin Pocket was estimated to be 4,000. In fact, there were well over 10,000 committed first-class professional soldiers. With 489 machine guns, numerous mortars, and more than 300 field guns, including the dreaded 88. The 3rd Canadian Infantry Division pressed on into the Breskens Pocket using Buffalo LVTs. They bypassed the German entrenched front lines and attacked their rear along the Scheldt. The assault on the Breskens Pocket lasted a nightmarish 29 days and was eventually cleared by November the 3rd, 1944. 12,000 German prisoners were taken. 6th of October 1944, the 2nd Canadian Infantry Division, supported by the 4th Canadian Armoured Division and the 1st Polish Armoured Division, attacked northwards from Antwerp. They faced the elite 6th German Parachute Regiment, with over 4,000 experienced, well-trained fighting men, with Mark IV tanks and self-propelled guns. 31st of October 1944, the Canadian 3rd Division are ordered to attack from the east along the Walcheren Causeway. The Walcheren Causeway is a 1-mile-long, 45-yard wide killing zone. It was an impossible assignment. The enemy were well dug in and could concentrate all their fire on the narrow causeway. The Canadians attacked time and again into a hellish barrage of rifle, machine gun, mortar and artillery fire. Many would not return. With sheer determination, endurance and courage beyond human ability, they achieved the impossible and established a bridgehead on Walcheren. Bloody, battered but not beaten, the Canadians handed over to the British 52nd Division and returned along the causeway. Walcheren would eventually be taken by amphibious attacks at West Capelle and at Flushing, while the 52nd Division forced a second crossing, accessible only at low tide. The Canadians went on to liberate villages, towns and cities in the Netherlands. Canadian soldiers will forever be fondly remembered by the Dutch people for liberating their country and saving the lives of tens of thousands of people from starvation. The Canadian First Army suffered 7,600 casualties liberating the Netherlands. Thank you for watching. Please press the subscribe button to see our full range of videos and be notified of new releases. It's free.